Welcome back to another episode of the That's My Dad podcast. Got a new friend here with me, Willie Sayles. You know, Willie, people say, well, how do you select the people to be on your podcast? And I like to think it's an honor to be on here, and I think most of the people that we bring on do. But I had asked my wife, we were praying about some people that we could bring on, and she said, you know, there's a guy at my school that is just the best dad I've ever seen. I said, what about his kids? And she said, he has 3 daughters, and they're the most highly respected kids that you'll ever meet. So everybody loves his daughters, and as well as your wife.
Yes.
Don't let me forget that. But my wife works at the school where your daughter is a student, and I think she knows you got one in college, you got one in middle school, and one in elementary.
Yes.
I think she knows 2 of them. And what she told me was that, man, this guy must have something figured out because his kids are the most respectable and respected kids anywhere around. So you've got something I want to try to learn today. Okay. So I did a little background check. You know, we went and checked you out, and I thought, yeah, we got to get this guy on. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me a little bit about yourself because we've just met.
Okay. I'm Willie Sayles. I work for the USDA. That's my real job, but I have a catering business on the side, sales catering. Been doing that for 15 years now. I'm just an all-around guy. I'm also a minister.
Okay.
I go to the People's Place Church.
I'm just church.
Family-oriented type guy.
Okay.
Just love family, and that's what's been instilled to me a lot through my dad. He's about family.
All right. So we were talking some about maybe your granddad.
Yes.
We're talking about how those
I was saying
blessings
how,
pass.
My dad's mom passed when he was 16. I think a lot of my raising from my dad, because he didn't, his mom died at such a young age, he actually started working a lot. Mm-hmm. And he moved to Gaston to live with his grandmother. And she helped raise him. He got maybe 18. I think he went into the Army, but he sort of helped raise his younger siblings as well, because when his mom died, she think his baby brother was like maybe 6 months.
Oh, okay.
Very young. So
your dad kind of had to step up into that
sort of being a dad
role.
And my granddad, he had 9 other brothers, siblings. So my granddad, they stayed in Elmore County. So my dad, when they moved here, I think the younger kids, like 4 of them, came to live here, and so my dad helped raise them. He worked, gave money to his grandmama to help.
So your granddad had 9 children, is that right?
10 total.
10 total.
Yes.
And his wife passed away. So he was left with that many children to raise, and they were all different ages, I'm assuming.
Most definitely.
So he had to have some help.
He had to have some help.
Okay, and he reached out to
his mom's mom. So my grandmother. His maternal mother. Help raise, some of the kids came down here.
Yeah. So your dad had to start working real young, didn't he?
Really young.
Yeah, and you were telling me what a hard worker he was.
My dad is a super hard worker. That's what I get a lot of my drive from. Mm-hmm. After he was in the Army, he got on at Goodyear. He was at Goodyear for like 20-something years. He took an early retirement because he got called into the ministry. Really? And so he started pastoring the church, Mount Zion Baptist Church in East Gaston. So it was like that was his life. Mm-hmm. When I say that was his life, church was his life. Yeah. Besides working in church, and we're gonna probably get into some other things about that. To his, not say to his detriment, but my dad was like really involved into the church. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I felt slighted. Yeah. Growing up because of that, because he spent more time at the church. He spent more time with the church kids, It's like you really give your life over when you do something like that. And if you're not careful to balance that out with your own family, we felt slighted a little bit. Yeah. So how many of you were there? It was three. I have a brother and a sister at the time that lived with us. So we felt slighted a little bit because it was always about the church. It was to the point when I got ready to graduate, I think we was having a revival, and because revival was that week, and because of the time we graduated, they weren't going to even make it to my graduation. But something changed. They changed our time, and that's the only reason why they made it to my graduation. My dad he's heading to church. It was like, church is going on. So a lot of preachers' kids, I think, feel that. You felt that.
Yeah, you felt that. How did you How did you deal with that as a preacher's kid?
Well, I dealt with it good. I guess I got into the motion. If we had to go to church, I went to church. Now, my brother, on the other hand, once he started working, it's funny, when he started working, I think he requested to work Sundays, so he went out to go to church.
So he went the other direction.
It got me. I caught something in it, that helped me out with it. I understood it, and I became, I had started having a relationship with Christ. I was sold out, so so it didn't bother me.
So you didn't resent that,
right.
So now your dad and you have a good relationship. Your dad's still living?
My dad's still living.
Yeah, tell us about your relationship now.
My dad and I have a better relationship than we've ever had in life, because my dad is, I guess because I gather it now that a lot he didn't learn from his dad by being so young. Dad was working, trying to raise the kids. My dad moved down here with his grandmother. I just remember one story. He's from Elmore County, Wetumpka, Alabama. So me and my brother, we went there one Saturday, to do something, pick up something. And when I say it was no conversation in the car, my dad is that type person. The only thing he said to us when we got there, hey, we used to live in a house over there in the field. And on the way back, he said, are y'all hungry? And that was the only conversation for those 2.5 hours that we had.
But it was time. It was time. You spent time with him.
We spent time.
Yeah, that's just his personality.
Yeah, that's his personality. That's what I learned, too. And it's funny, my wife, we talk vicariously through other people. Like, my dad could be in a room, and I may ask him something, but I asked it through my mom. And I caught myself doing it. And my wife caught it one day. She said, why do y'all do that? I don't know why, but that's just part of it. We was like, hey, I don't want to – we'd talk through my mom. That my mom would say something to my dad. It was just crazy. Yeah. But we was like, why don't we just have that? Yeah. Now me and my dad can sit and talk.
What was there a turning point, or is there a change, or
I think
just kind of occur as you grew up and understood
things
and
then started understanding one another. When I understood that he was doing the best that he probably knew, and his dad probably didn't give him that, so he was just modeling after what he was taught. Right. So when he had that, but just because you're doing, you had been taught that, doesn't mean it can stay that way. I'm always about, you can change that. Yeah. So I may, hey, Dad, how you doing today? And that started, just doing things a little bit differently. So.
Yeah, I'm sure he's proud of you, too.
He is. And he said that one day. I overheard him. I think, like I said, I heard him telling somebody else, I'm proud of that boy. I guess he was saying something, too, about how I was raising my girls. Yeah. I have 3 girls, so he was just saying something about that, and he said, I'm proud of that boy. He's doing it right.
And that stuck in your mind.
That stuck in my mind.
Yeah.
I heard my mom say it one day about something. She said, you know what? I'm so proud of Willie. Sometimes it's funny, but it won't, necessarily say it to me, but I overhear them saying it. Yeah, that's sort of the same thing. That was their way. That's just the way that was brought up.
So how does that make you feel when they?
And I was overjoyed within. Like I said, I'm doing something right,
Yeah, I think we all crave that. We've heard that over and over. Do you try to do that with your girls?
Oh, most definitely. I've learned that you can always learn something whether to do or not to do in life. So I try to overcompensate with my girls. I try to get in there like, hey, how y'all doing today? How was your day? Just being involved and let them know I'm appreciative of them. I'm proud of them. We say it a lot. My wife is a wordy type person, so that's just in our household. We appreciate you. We love you. That's every day. Yeah. To build them up.
Build them up.
Build them up for life.
Build them up. What do you think? What are some things that your dad did really well?
Work ethics. He taught us work ethics, if nothing else, to work. One thing I remember when I was working at one of the fast food, I was a manager at one of the fast food restaurants. It was stressful. And he said, boy, I tell you, he said, you know how many times I wanted to quit my job? He said, but I had a family to raise, and that stuck with me. When you have something, when you were responsible for something, you just can't quit because you're mad that day. And you go in there, half-hearted, hazardly, and say, I'm going to quit. No, you have responsibilities. You have to sometimes suck some things in.
So your
work through it.
Your dad got up every day and went to work.
Oh, yes, most definitely. Most definitely.
Yeah. In terms of raising your girls, what do you think some things that you have done right?
Well, the first and foremost, one thing we instilled in them to have a relationship with Christ. That was one thing that's how me and Tiffany got together. So we tried to instill that they would have a relationship with Christ for above everything else. One other thing we tried to instill in them, education. Do your work. study. I have some very bright girls,
Yeah,
all A students.
Been told, and your wife is working on her doctorate.
She's working on her doctorate.
Yeah.
So they always
got it from their mama. Did it get from their mama?
They say they got it from their mama, but because I didn't, I went to college. I started college, but I was working that work ethic, and that's one. I'm not gonna say I live a life of regret for that because there's still time. I can still go back to college if I wanted to, but it's like I got into the workforce and I never turned back when I could have went on to finish the college and all that. But
so some things that you've done right. Teach them to love Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Teach them the importance of an education.
Mm-hmm. And also we teach them to it's about others. It's not about you all the time. My daughters have a willing heart to help others.
Yeah.
Sometimes to their detriment. They love my oldest daughter. She is strong-willed, but her heart, she carries burdens, sort of like my wife. She's a psychology major.
Okay.
So my oldest daughter, she tried to be a fixture for other people's problems. I said, baby, because people bring it to you. But I told her that's part of her ministry too.
Mm-hmm.
God has for her to do, now and later in life. But you have to just pick and choose.
How do you roll? How do you model that for a kid? We all want to have kids that are generous and giving and caring. How do you teach them to be that way? Do they just turn out that way, or do you think there's something?
They don't just turn out that way. It's a lot of different things you have to do. Let them know it's others minded, to be others minded. Like Christmas, we believe in Christmas, yes, but we never believe in just thousands of gifts or hundreds of gifts. We always believe in 3 gifts: something you want, something that you need, and something educational. We kept it simple. But we go all out on the birthdays.
You mean they didn't turn out to be terrible kids because they didn't get everything they wanted?
They did not turn out to
Isn't
be
that
terrible
amazing
kids.
how that happens?
They were very appreciative.
Wow.
But we would go all out on the birthdays. We said, that's your day. Christmas, that's Jesus' birthday.
Yeah. So did you
give you a little something, but we try to keep others minded. What can we give to someone else during this time?
So what do you think some things you might have done wrong?
Oh.
They're still young. You might still be doing something wrong. Where are some things where you think you could improve?
Some things I think I can improve, just spending more time with them. I do have daddy-daughter dates, but not as often as I would like.
What's that like?
Oh, they love it. They look forward to it.
Really?
And I don't do them. I do them separately.
Really?
Yes.
Daddy-daughter dates. What kind of stuff do you do?
We go to the movies, out to eat. Sometimes just one of my daughters, she just want to chill at home. Just order some pizza, watch something on Netflix.
Well, no, you got 3 daughters.
3 daughters.
And a wife.
And a wife.
So you have a lot of dates.
Yep, I have a lot of dates in it.
And you do this one-on-one.
One-on-one.
What do you think it's going to do for them as adults when they get older? I know you're doing it just because you want to do it, but in thinking about how that might affect them, how do you think that might play out?
I think it's going to play out well with them because not only while we're out, I'm talking to them, instilling some things into them, about relationships, about things in life. So, it's a 2-part. I'm spending time with them. Also trying to, hey, watch out for this in life. Watch out for, don't let nobody just come, take advantage of you, stuff like that. So I'm using those moments to teach them as well.
Okay.
So I think that's going to carry over with them because daddy taught me that during that time, away from everybody else, one-on-one, hey, that relationship and everything. Man. So
that's advice that I would give any dad of a daughter.
Yes.
I spent time with my daughter. We didn't do daddy-daughter dates. I guess we did. Maybe it was. Maybe
I called it that.
Yeah.
Spending time.
Yeah, we may have called it something else, but I think that gives them if your daughter doesn't have intimacy, proper intimacy, obviously, with you, they'll seek it elsewhere. And that's an epidemic in our country with 18 million children growing up without a dad in their home. Those little girls are going to look for attention from a male figure. That's the way God designed us to be.
That's right.
And if they don't get it from daddy, they'll go seek it out somewhere else.
They will seek it out from somewhere else.
You're building a foundation with them that they can grow on and not be out seeking out the wrong kind of guys and not just taking the first guy that comes along.
That's it.
What are some things that they've done, like activity-wise, that you've been able to support?
Pretty much everything they do, I support. My oldest daughter, she got into oratorical speaking, public speaking, and I was at everything she done. She was in the band. I can't make every game, but just supporting them in that. my daughters, there's some triumphs. I say triumphs. They'll try something in a minute. My daughter want to be on the bowling team. She want to be on the oratorical. Just so many things. But we support them in it.
Y'all went. It was a family affair for y'all. You and your wife and the other kids.
4-H has been big in their lives. Very much involved in 4-H. Ambassadors. My oldest daughter is ambassador. My middle daughter now. They're all involved in 4-H and all the programs that 4-H has. And just other Legacy Club. It's a club for young girls and boys now. Okay. They're involved in that. They're involved in a lot of community type things. My daughter used to just go to the pound to the animal shelter. The animal shelter and volunteer.
Yeah,
go feed the dogs. I'm like, y'all could do so much else with your time, but that's their heart.
That's their heart. Yeah.
That's their heart.
What kind of advice would you have for other dads out there?
Advice for other dads is, even if you don't know how to do, I believe in divine intervention. I believe the Holy Spirit allows me to, hey, do this, and I'm led by the Holy Spirit in a lot of things of how to. Because you don't know how to, but He does. Our Heavenly Father knows. So it's like when you tap into that, He can direct you in your individual way of how you need to do whatever. So I would say for those dads, have a relationship with Christ, and if you don't know how to do, get some help from someone else. Model after someone else. It's somebody else in the community. If you look around, you can find somebody that can give you some advice or whatever, and just take the advice and go with it.
Yeah. That's good advice. So part of what you've done is you've just listened to God speak to you and give you these great ideas for raising.
And it's been modeled too. Not only I said I've learned what to do sometimes and what not to do by looking at my day. We don't do everything right, but I can also look at a deacon in the church or a pastor, my pastor, and see how they do, and I say, okay, I can model after that.
Good advice. We live in a society where fathers are not honored. The role of the father is not honored. It's almost like we've reached the point that people think, well, you really don't need a father. I've had people, even on the podcast, people respond, online, and it's like, well, yeah, you don't really need a father. They're just needed to contribute the biological material to make a baby, and then they go off and leave. What do you think that does? First of all, what does that do to a child to have to grow up without a dad?
I think for a child to grow up without a dad, it's going to be always to them a missing part. It's going to be something missing in their life, and they're going to start seeking that. Like you were saying earlier with the girls, you're going to start seeking something other than what you really need. Like I think there were a lot of guys get into gangs because they're seeking that love and that father, whoever gives them attention or show them a little love, they're going to gravitate towards that. Good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah. Wow. We feel like, and I know you agree, we feel like the fatherless epidemic that's going on in our country is at the root of most of our social problems.
Yes.
I believe it's not economics, it's not race, it's not law enforcement, it's not teachers. It's the father not being there to teach kids how to be respectable, responsible, hard working, people that contribute to society.
Because God set it up, the woman the woman has a role and the man has a role. A lot of times I just remember one story with my wife. She felt like I was talking harsh. Every day it can't be, no. I said, no, sometimes they need that stern voice from a dad.
Yeah.
Guys, young boys need a stern voice from another male to get them lying. A lot of times you can just say something. That's one thing my girls growing up, I could just say one thing to them and they'll straighten up. Mama can probably say it over and over and over again. I said, hey, what did your mom say? And it's just that father's voice. And when I seen that, that's what, like you were saying, what society's missing, that stern, strong-handed voice. Because we raise differently. From our, from
women raised differently than men.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people that'll argue with us about that. They'll say, "Oh, women are strong; they can handle it, they can do it." But I mean, women, a mom can't do the same things a dad can do, and a dad sure can't do what a mom can do.
Amen, brother.
Regardless of what people think. Now, I do respect single moms.
I do,
no doubt in my mind. I have a tremendous amount of respect. Some of them are doing the best they can do.
Right.
and doing a good job. There's a lot of guys being raised by single moms, but to have a dad around, it's just irreplaceable. Irreplaceable.
Yes,
Even
sir.
the guys that we've interviewed here whose dads have passed away, they still had an empty place in their heart. Even though that their dad loved them, he was gone, and there was just a void there.
Mm-hmm.
And you can only imagine how a kid feels if he's being raised by a single mom and he knows his dad's out there wandering around somewhere, choosing not to have anything to do with him.
Yes.
I just think it's detrimental to our. What do you think the role of the church or as Christians should be in reaching these fatherless kids?
I think the role of the church to reach these fatherless kids is just that, to reach them, show love to them. It doesn't have to be someone you know. Like my church, we go to the East Gadsden Community Center on Fridays, and we have a group of a couple. They're gonna instill, just spending time with the kids. And the kids, they gravitate to love that's shown toward them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all, and that's what we need to do as a church. Reach out to those fatherless, and I think we're called to do that when we know what we can do. When you know that someone doesn't have a father and this and that, we ought to want to step in. Those men in the church ought to want to step in and help. You raise your kids, whatever, you ought to want to, instill some good things into some other kids as well.
Yeah, let me get on the churches a little bit here. They're not gonna come walking in your door.
You have to go out.
You got to go out into their world. They're not, churches, we tend to think, oh, well, we're going to have our singing. We're going to have the great singing, and we're going to have great preaching, but then we're not going anywhere. You're telling me your church is out there
out there. It's beyond those four walls.
Yeah, you're out there
church
reaching.
Is just where we just come together and worship and get geared up, get energized and go out.
What do you think it does to a kid who's out there and he's struggling? He doesn't have a dad. Maybe his mom's not got her act together, and he sees this group of people at the community center, and they're nice to him. They smile at him. They tell him he's got talent. They compliment him. What do you think it does to that kid?
It's going to build up that kid's self-esteem to the point where they want to do better. My pastor just told a story how in the previous ministry he was in, they had a men's ministry, and this little boy come in, and this, that. He said, but in that group, each guy was respectful to one another. Yes, sir. And they were saying yes, sir, to one another. He said, when that little guy left, yes, sir. It's just an environment, the atmosphere that you create.
Yeah,
and it changes.
I'm so glad your church is taking it outside the walls of a Sunday morning. That means the world. What do you think are some of the greatest joys of being a dad?
Some of the greatest joys of being a dad to me is like where you think you missed it yourself, or what you missed, or what you didn't get, you can instill it in them. So it can be flipped around, try to do it better. Then you think you've done it so great, and then what that's instilled to them, when they pass it on to their kids, it's just even greater. And that legacy is built upon just doing it. It's just getting better and better and better and better.
I want to ask you to do something. I want to ask you to pay honor to your dad.
Okay.
We're gonna give you a chance to do that. And look in this camera right here.
Okay.
Something you'd like to just say to your dad?
First of all, I would like to say, Dad, I love you. I appreciate and I'm honored all that you've instilled in me, whether you've done it verbally or I've seen you do it. Work ethics, relationship with Christ. You're a diehard Jesus fan. When you got into the church, you were into the church, and it's like it was the church and nothing else. To that extent, and I'm grateful because of that. I have a relationship with Christ, and my daughters have a relationship with Christ, and that's going to instill beyond the time that you're gone, I'm gone. Their relationship with Christ is going to forever be with them, and for that, I'm forever grateful for what you've done, not only for me, my sisters, my brother, and for the family, and how you reached out to all your family. You're a family man, and you want us all to be together and do things together, and for that, I'm grateful. I love you for it. Appreciate you. I'm proud of you.
Tell me what your kids mean to you.
All my kids, they mean absolutely the world to me. I am so honored to have 3 beautiful girls. And when I say I was trying to be hard, my oldest daughter just went off to college, and I was like, oh, I'm ready for you to go. I feel like we've done our part. But one day at work, it hit me like a ton of bricks, and I just started like literally boo-hooing. And I was like, "What's wrong with me?" And it's like my daughter's. I mean, it just hit me. All of a sudden, I was one of them heartbreaks. Oh, I'm ready for you to go. You go, you know. But no, later on, about a week later, it just hit me. Are you really crying? And they just mean the world to me. It's like a part of me. But I'm happy. I'm apprehensive that I know we've done right by them. But just to see them go and to go off and make their own mistakes and, you know, their trials and tribulations, their triumphs. It's like, oh, a part of me is gone. But you know, I come back quick though. But
so that I went through that with my daughter, and in fact, the security guard on the college campus was getting worried that I wasn't going to leave, but I couldn't see because I was in the parking lot crying. I couldn't see to drive home, and he kept circling around the car until finally my wife said, "Honey, you need to go before we get arrested." And she was in her dorm room having a good time. What would you want your kids to say about you when they're grown?
I want to say, you know, Dad, first of all, we have a relationship with Christ because of you and Mom. 2, we learned how to work. We learned how to provide for ourselves and not depend on, you know, be better for the society, so to speak. Whatever, and we can obtain the goals and dreams, you know, if we put our mind to it and work at it. Get it honestly.
We got a little video from your kids. We want to present that to you and just get your reaction to how they feel about Daddy. I think a little surprise from your wife too.
The thing I like best about my husband as a father is that he's a man after God's own heart, and he models that before our girls.
Dad, I want to thank you for just pushing me to have success and just letting me know that you love me and you will always be there for me.
The thing I like most about my father is how hardworking he is, and I love how he's always trying to put others first.
We salute you, our prophet, priest, and king of our home.
Daddy, I just want to thank you for your unwavering love, support, and wisdom. I love you.
How's that feel, Willie?
I'm honored.
Is it worth all the hard work, worth doing things right to have this moment?
It's not in vain.
It's not in vain.
It's not in vain. To God be the glory.
To God be the glory. Well, you've been quite an inspiration to a lot of people, and you're a role model. And when my wife told me about you, my wife's not one to hand out compliments just for nothing. And you stuck out in her mind as being a guy that a lot of people need to look up to and say, I can be like that guy. So it's my prayer and hope that there's going to be maybe just one young man out there, and you're thinking, I'm not good enough, or I can't make it. Look at Willie. Look at Willie. Look at those tears rolling down his eyes. You can have that same feeling one day and have kids and a wife that honor you, and you can be a man of respect in the community. You can be a man that everybody looks up to as a role model. Thank you for coming on. Anything else you want to say?
I'm ecstatic that you even know how things worked out for me to even be here. I don't feel like I should be, but that's how God works.
We're tickled to have you. I've got a new friend.
Yeah, same here.
All right. That'll conclude this episode of That's My Dad, where we're inspiring fathers to become great dads, and we're breaking cycles of generational fatherlessness. See us next week. Thanks.